Today in social studies, we are going to be learning about the very last region. The very last region that we're going to study about is the coastal plain. The coastal plain region is located in the southern part of Georgia. It is below all the other regions, and this land is really good for growing crops because it's so flat. This land is very flat. There are no mountains, very flat, grassy land. Now this is right next to the coast. Right here is where the ocean is. And the ocean and the land where it meets, there's a lot of swampy land, which means it's very wet also in this area. And there are beaches along the coastline right here. So it is very flat. There's a lot of swampy area, and there are beaches in this region. We are going to look at Google Earth and see what it looks like from space. So this is Google Earth that we are currently looking at. Now let me outline Georgia for you. This right here is where Georgia is located. We have looked at all the different regions except down here where the coastal region is. So let's zoom in on the Savannah coastal plain and see what it looks like. As we zoom in, you will see that this area is very flat. It's right next to the ocean. Here's the ocean water. You can see that this area right here is very wet because of the water coming in up from the ocean. It's very flat. There are no hills. Now you can tell this is a very populated area. This is Savannah. Maybe you've heard of Savannah before. So there's lots of little rivers and lots of wetland, swampy wetland. You can see that some of this land is farmed on, the way that they've got it shaped out. Okay, very flat land around here. No hills and no mountains. Alright, I'm going to zoom out so you can see the other location we're going to talk about. So you can see this is very flat land. It's pretty wet too. This right here is Cumberland Island. I'm going to click on this location. It's going to zoom in for us. Let's see what it looks like when we zoom in on Cumberland Island. Alright, I'm going to zoom in even closer so you can see it. Alright, Cumberland Island, so you can tell this is very flat land. And you can see it's not very grassy. This part might be a little bit more grassy, but this part right here is not quite as grassy because, look, it says East River. This is a very wet area. This would be where you would have marshes. It's kind of in this area. So it is grassy, but it's also wet. So that's what that wet marsh looks like. Okay, so Cumberland Island, it's right on the coast where the beach, you can see the beach line where the sand is. Alright, and there was one more that I wanted to show you. Let's zoom out and look at the Okefenokee Swamp. Maybe that might be a place you're familiar with. Okefenokee Swamp. It even has that word swamp in it. Okay, when we zoom in and look, you can see obviously it's flat. You can tell that it's kind of grassy, but kind of wet also. Let me try and see how clear it looks when we zoom in. Alright, so there is a good bit of grassy area you can kind of see, but it's mixed in with water. So it's kind of hard to see from this view, but the Okefenokee Swamp is very wet. And it also has a grassy within the wetness. So we can see it's very flat. We don't see any rolling hills and no mountains. This region is very flat, very good for growing crops because of all that water. It's very good for growing crops because of how flat it is. So you can see there's not many people that live here because Well, it's a very wet area, and you can't build houses in neighborhoods in an area that's super wet. All right, so that is the coastal plain, this flat region here by the water. All right, boys and girls, so we are going to go over the Coastal Plain Museum together. So get out your notebook. Go ahead and get your notebook prepared for us to write the notes so that we can find out where it's located, what the land looks like, and animals found there. I will see you back on Zoom in a moment.